How to be in masculine frame without being a robot. Guys ask me, what is masculine frame? Or you're practicing masculine frame right now, being trustable, grounded, right? Not swayed by her storm, not swayed by the current weather that she's spinning off, either a closed off, more cold shell, or a lashing out, or just a just a flooding all over the place in general. How do I not lose my frame as a man, my masculine frame, without just shutting off or disassociating or coming across as a robot, basically? So, welcome to Man. Of course, we're here for one another. We believe in freedom, freedom to live life and relationships with passion, freedom to be confident within ourselves no matter what, and the freedom to make the most important promises to ourselves, regardless of what's going on in life. And talking about masculine frame. This is a post from the forum recently. He says, cue the love you but talk. And in my low point, I happened upon a podcast by Dan Dorr on being a strong man, and it hit me hard. A lack of confidence in myself as a man had put me through the ringer for much of my young adult life. And the hearing the truth about being a good man and a good leader felt like the thing I wanted to reach for. So he's basically sort of leaning into passion and purpose. Hearing his truth about being a good man and a good leader is what he wanted to reach for, instead of just feeling like he's been constantly put through the ringer as an adult. To let all the things I wanted deep inside to actually be something that I could tell someone about and work towards and eventually invite someone to. I was scared of the world and felt like a victim of it. I need to be a man who can bend the world to what he wants. So part of masculine frame, this is my definition, if you will, of masculine frame. The first piece, I'm a protagonist of my own story. I have a vision for my own personal story of some kind. I've even thought about that personal vision, and I'm the protagonist of that story. I'm not a side player. I'm not the villain. I'm not the victim. Like this man was saying, he's admitting he felt like he was. I was scared of the world and felt like a victim of it. So he's moving himself into the protagonist of the story and has a vision. B, confidence in your direction and purpose. Those are required for masculine frame. Doesn't mean you're always confident, but you have some direction and you have some purpose and you have confidence that you're going to make the next decision necessary and take the next step forward, as we were talking about before the call tonight. For example, knowing what you want and then going for it, or saying it, or asking for it, knowing what you want. And C, finally, being aware of your emotions and in control of your emotions, responding, not reacting, being even aware of them. I think with the man earlier today, it was saying he's not even aware that things were going such and such with his wife. And I asked him, what was his experience? You know, was he angry? Did he get defensive? And he said, I'm not even aware of what my emotions were at the time. And how can a woman trust us? How can we have frame that she wants to pour herself into if we're not even aware of how we're, let's say, coming across? And I was certainly guilty of that in the past before beginning this work, right? Like being confused and then talking her into my point of view, you know, or getting frustrated, angry, basically. Yeah, I was really good at those things, and I wasn't aware of how, let's say, often I was even doing that. So I've been there. So I want to ask you guys that are here right now. So certainly if you have a challenge in your life around frame, like what is masculine frame? How am I practicing that? But my more pointed question is, which one of these three areas would you say is a current challenge for you, or that you're working on, or you'd love to be stronger? A, you have a vision and you're the, let's say, hero of that story, protagonist of that story. B, confidence in your direction and purpose, like knowing what you want and being willing to say it. Or C, being aware of and, let's say, in control of your emotions. So you feel relatively overall 95%, 98% pretty proud of how you come across because you're aware. You're not just, you know, shooting from the hip or on autopilot. Which one of those? ABC, punch into the chat. ABC, would you say, is the, you know, most challenging for you right now, or that you're working on? And if you're not able to get to the chat, I'd love for you to come on in and talk about this. So unmute yourself. Come on in. Does everyone feel they're perfect at knowing what you want and saying it? Right? Probably not. So which one of these hits you? Come on in. Put it on the table. Yeah, Keith, go for it.
So with the three of them, I think that the protagonist. So basically, can you flash it one more time?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess protagonist, I was not really that. More the direction sometimes. I feel like I have a I have a clear direction. I've written it down. I know what I want. Sometimes I feel like I am not going that direction and I have to course correct. It's probably just going to be a thing that I'm always going to have to do. I feel like I'm off the course and a day or so, and then I just course correct and get back on because sometimes I feel myself getting distracted. I think the distraction part is just because I'm going through this. I don't drink, I don't smoke, so I'm going to find something to occupy my mind sometimes. So, and I think that's probably why. But that's what I struggle with the most now.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. Thanks for kicking us off, Keith. So you don't like binge Netflix or something? You have something else? Another vice?
I tried to today, but not really, not really. So, oh, I know what I do. I do karaoke. So I
Nice.
suck doing a lot of karaoke. In fact, I would have done it tonight, but my son's with me right now, so he's gonna be hanging out with me. So I get
Nice. That's awesome.
yeah. So
Not what
maybe
I expected you to say, I guess. Okay, that's
we'll
cool.
do. I guess we'll do some karaoke. My son and I will sing some songs tonight.
Nice, dude. I love it. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate you jumping in. So we got a couple guys in the chat put B for confidence. Yeah, Julio, come on in. How's that a challenge for you? Which part of that hits you deeply?
Um, I would actually say A is probably the most challenging, actually. Just because I still have that vision of, I'm getting better at like looking at myself as the hero, kind of just being, the main character in my own story. It just I just have a challenge sometimes with that, just because I still have that little voice in my head where, it says it creates doubt within yourself, or you're not good enough. And I guess that goes along with confidence as well, not being good enough for certain things and not being good enough husband, man, and so on and so on. It's it's not as bad as it used to be. I'm able to kind of just push it down and kind of question that, and kind of be aware of my emotions and know where that's coming from. I'm getting better at that now. It's still work, but I'm getting better. But yeah, I would say that would be the challenge. I guess still working on accepting myself with compassion, if that makes sense. I don't know if that goes with protagonist or confidence because I feel like both are a challenge.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. Well, there's a book that I'm recommending in the private membership group into Kingly Life Path, and I've mentioned on a couple different calls. Hero on a Mission by Donald Miller. I know other coaches have recommended this too, and I just recently read it, and it's great. He talks within that the four archetypes in a story. So he's an author. He has been for his whole career. And now this gentleman writes more small business books now, but he was a fiction author. And so for years, he made his career off of writing fiction, right? And he said there's four characters in every story: the hero, the guide, the victim, and the villain. And so what you're kind of talking about here is moving into, well, the hero has a challenge. The hero in any story, the protagonist, the main character, always has challenge. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a story. There's no plot if there's no challenge between where he is now and where he wants to be, or something he wants to accomplish, or obviously, right, a challenge he has to overcome that's forced upon him one way or the other, kind of thing. But he's not the victim. He doesn't just sit back. That's, you wouldn't watch that story very long. That'd be a shitty. That wouldn't be a fun story. Or he becomes actually the bad guy, in which case, that's that wouldn't be the kind of integrity that you would want, I suppose, unless you're watching a movie purposefully, like about the Joker or something, but that's not who you're aspiring to be. So we're aspiring really to be the guide, like the Obi-Wan Kenobi is what a punchline of the book is in one of the parts. We don't think about ourselves that way, but that's what we're all striving for, right? Is like we've accomplished, we have wisdom, we're kind of on the other side of challenge, so to speak. We're like a master in our craft, or at least in some craft, right? But we don't think that way. Well, the only way to get, that's what we want. The only way to sort of get there is to be the hero with challenges along the way, which, means you're the protagonist of your story. And that's to bring in that book, which I've been talking about a lot lately. And then what you said, Leo, how does that come across to you as far as, okay, yeah, the path to being the guide, the Obi-Wan Kenobi, is through it being a hero that faces challenges along a path, along a journey?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's the challenges within myself, and it's I forget where I was reading this too, but yeah, that's kind of similar to like talking about Star Wars, where Luke has to go into that cave and face his shadows. Like that's the challenge. You know, it's really within yourself, and you come out a better man because you face those shadows or the darkness. And I think that's just a continuous process because we're humans, right? But yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Heroes have to face that challenge to become the guide, and you know, it's a change in perspective, and kind of facing those challenges. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks. Very good. Yeah, this is new. This is new stuff as far as thinking of how we want to come across. I mean, it started for me as I'm not interested in being the villain in her story any longer. I'm not going to be the villain because that's just who I play in her story. And that's the overriding frame, right?
yeah,
So I've been there, certainly. It's like I don't want that anymore, or I'm not interested in being judged any longer. I'm not interested in her judgment of me any
yeah,
longer.
and that's interesting because that's how I'm feeling right now too. You know, I'm getting to a point where it's like I don't care. You know, like I care, but it's almost like I don't give a fuck. I don't give a
Right.
shit what you say.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna do me, and you know, it's whatever. You know, if I'm here, like you said, the door's open if you want to talk. I'm here, but you can tell your friends that I did this for you and this, but I don't give a shit. And I guess that's where I'm getting to. I'm getting to that point. It feels like so.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes
nice.
sense. Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Thanks, Julio. Good to see you. So Harry, you put B for confidence. Come on in and talk with us about that, or direction and purpose, knowing what you want and saying it. Which part of that rang true to you that you're working on, let's say, or is challenge potentially for you, Harry?
Uh, I mean, basically confidence in knowing what I want and to say it. I mean, in the context of relationships with women, of course, you cannot just go around saying what you want. But I suppose, I don't know in what context you meant it. I mean, in a professional context, yeah, it is more manly to go and directly say what you want to a group of men, like, okay, we want to do this project. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we need to do it. Here's what we want the outcome to be. And this is the timeline we're going to do it in. So that's more of the leader or manager kind of a role. But when it comes to women, you cannot be that upfront in saying what you want. So you have to be more circumspect in knowing what to say and when to say, and having the confidence that it'll be received well. So.
Yeah, of course. So the business world and women in relationships are two totally different sports, right? One is baseball and one is soccer. And if you bring a baseball bat onto the soccer field, you're probably going to get arrested. so, so
Yeah,
there's like an appropriate place for a baseball bat. So
yeah,
I get you. I agree with that. So in the context, well, I mean, it applies for both, but it's basically your point being you have to be calibrated. You have to be
right.
calibrated, also
Mm,
calibrated to the woman and the circumstance and the cultural expectations and etc. Right? So
right.
yeah, totally. Well, what pops in your mind more with a woman or more in career where let's say it's a challenge for you to identify, what you want and say it in a calibrated way or move toward what your vision is in a calibrated way? Which one's a little bit more
The
challenging?
career is fine because the career or whatever interactions you have in the business world are logical. But while the interactions you have with women, they are not logical. So they are emotional. So that is more dicey because you have to know the emotional context in which it is being received. So,
Sure. So with like the woman that you're seeing, at least seeing online, have you seen her in person many times?
no, not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. So if for instance, when I was dating, I'll just put it this way. This is going to be my question, but I'll just say when I was dating, right, after my wife, and then before my current relationship, I dated for going on a year, a little less than a year. I saw many different women in that time. And my goal, let's say, or not goal, but my rule of thumb, in order to show my affection for a woman if I was interested in her during a date or after a date, and also to make sure that I was, let's say, leading in a calibrated way, and also
Mm.
that I was envisioning, having the guts to do what I'm about to say, which
Uh,
is go for the kiss at some point on the first date if I think it's going well and I like her,
uh,
and not that's just this like silly kind of rule of thumb. It sounds like high school bullshit or something because that would have been like
uh,
me at six. I didn't need that rule when I was 16. I just did what. But all of a sudden when I'm older, like, okay, go for the kiss. But I've had it really, being forward with what you want in a calibrated way shows your desire for a woman, and she wants to feel like you desire her. She wants to feel like you know, are going to go for it, that you're going to swing the bat at the baseball kind of thing. When the pitch comes over the plate, you're going to swing. Like, she wants to feel that about you as a man, I would think, and women say. So that's a part of, I believe, what we're talking about here. I knew that I wanted to go for the kiss, and I either said it, or I said, hey, I want to kiss you, come over here, or I went for the kiss, right? So I had, like, let's say, the confidence and the fortitude, the balls to do that, because that's the man I wanted to be, and that's what I wanted. So that's
Yeah,
kind of
you
an
have to be
example.
able to read her emotions pretty well to make a good judgment.
Well, sure. I mean, there was a couple times that it didn't go very well. Like, and then there was one time, there was a couple times I just shook her hand. I didn't go for a kiss because
Oh,
I was just like not going well. So I wasn't going to try to kiss her, you know? And then
oh,
there was some times it went really well. So one time, I won't tell the story, but one time the girl was such a horrible kisser that I just stopped it. It was like, sorry, no, this isn't gonna. It was that bad. I was like missile assault. Like, talk about middle school. It was bad. I'll never forget. I'm traumatized, Harry. I'm traumatized. I can't get out of my head. Thanks,
okay.
Harry. Good stuff, man. Good to see you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Julio. Thanks for raising your hand, buddy.
No, I was just gonna say, I bet, or I was just wondering, like, did that take a lot of like trial and error to kind of, read the woman, like, about the kiss, or have that confidence of when to do it or how to do it? Was there a lot
I
of
mean,
trial and
there's
error
always
like
some
that?
trial and error. I don't know. Then you just gotta, like, how do I want to say this? I've told the story before. I'll say it quickly again. The first time I asked a girl out after, not having dated anybody basically since college, right after my son's mom and I split up. I knew I was going to be horrible at it, asking a girl out or even approaching a girl. So I had lunch. The waitress was cute. We left. I went back in myself, and I looked around for the waitress, and she was like, "Can I help you, sir? Did you forget something?" And I said, "I think you're really cute." That's what I said. So I walked out of the restaurant back in. It was this, like, little restaurant on a golf course that's nearby here. So it was this little kind of little place. It wasn't like a Chili's. It was like this little place. It was this little place. And she said, "Oh, I have a boyfriend." Okay. And I'm sure I was red by that time. And I was like, "Okay, that's cool," or whatever. I don't know. I blacked out after that. I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And I walked out. I walked out, and in the parking lot, I fist pumped in the air and I said, "Yes, first, rejection." Because I knew it was going to be horrible. I knew. Like, I had to pop my cherry, It'd been a long time. So that's kind of my answer. It's like, just expect it to suck at first, and, like, that's fine. When you learn to fucking water ski, you're going to drink a lot of water, like, you're going to be thrown on, you're going to, like, you're going to get a forceful enema sometimes. And that's what it feels like with a woman sometimes, you go for the kiss and you think it's going good, and then, oh, okay, not so good. But otherwise, it's more like on the date, they have to show me something. That's really how you look at it. Like, they need to show me that they're interesting or funny, or, like, gonna get along, gonna have a good conversation, be cool, have good energy. That's what I'm looking. It's not like, oh, is she gonna like me? So by the time we're an hour in, and, whatever, walking to the next event or something, and it's been, like, cool the whole time, and this kind of thing, just like, hey, I want to kiss you, come over here, and say, that's why I often say what you want, because I literally say what I want a lot in intimate situations, because it's kind of like part of, not that I don't, it's not a script, but there's you'd be surprised. Like, I'll be on a call with a guy, and he's like, "I want to have more sex, da, da, da." And I'll say, "Have you told her, hey, I want to kiss your lips," or, "Hey, come kiss me, come sit on my lap, hey, come over and sit with me." And he's like, "No, can I do that? I can say that?" I'm like, fucking killing me, dude. Yeah, go ahead, Julio.
No, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, no, no. Yeah, no, just saying what you want. It's I like that, and you bring up like that point where it's like, oh, wait, I can say that. It's
Yeah.
almost like it's a rule, or something. But I think even for me, it's just being afraid of rejection. But you gotta get to a point where it's just like, celebrate that you even tried, like you said. Like, hell yeah, I
Yes,
tried it. I popped
exactly.
my cherry. So nice.
Like, yeah, being a guy is about facing a lot of rejection, and then, a success once in a while. That's usually really awesome. Like that's what it kind of
Eventually,
feels like as a guy, you know? It's like,
eventually somebody will say yes. Getting
I
closer
mean,
to
well,
yes.
or we'll both jive together, right? It's more like I'll find somebody cool that we can have fun, basically. Like I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna cry in my milk or whatever until I find somebody fun who, you know, is cool and we can have fun together, emotionally, physically, spiritually, right? It's like pretty much
Yeah.
that simple. And what kind of man are you? I want to have fun. I want to connect emotionally, physically, spiritually. You know, I want to have good times, good laughs, and good sex. You know how many guys don't or know how to say that? Like don't have any idea what that even means. Like the stuff that we talk about here, most guys have no fucking clue. So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's my
had
little
no
rant.
clue when
Yeah,
before I got on. I had yeah, this has provided me like so much clarity and just yeah, like I said, vision and kind of yeah, say what I want, and I'm working on that.
yeah, good man. I see that you are. I agree with you absolutely.